Hello, I'm Robert, and welcome to Robert's Guitars and Gear. Today we are going to take a careful look at the Fender Player Series Jaguar. Now, this is one cool looking guitar, and it always has been, since 1962 in fact. And this guitar has covered an incredible range of music. If you think about the surf music and the early 60s when it came out, through Kurt Cobain and grunge and indie music of the 90s, and to this day. These are really, really fascinating and effective guitars. This guitar, for me, has a kind of 70s vibe to it that's just hopelessly cool. It just screams at me to play it. Well, let's talk about this Jaguar. First of all, historically, Jaguars had this really exotic switching. What you could see is 3 switches at the bottom, so bridge on and off, neck on and off, and this mid-cutter strangle switch. At the top, you had switching for this rhythm circuit, and the rhythm circuit takes the neck and gives it a darker voicing suitable for heavier distortion, and it sounds great. The problem is that switching is not so practical if you're really playing, but it's very cool. So with the Player Series, the switching is vastly, vastly easier. Up here, we have a single switch that is a coil tap, or coil split, it's probably a better thing to say, for the humbucker. And at the bottom, we have a 3-way switch for neck, bridge, and middle. It's that simple. So it's much easier to switch on the fly. In terms of specs for this guitar, 22 frets, 24-inch scale. So this combination just makes it a very easy to play guitar, especially if you're a smaller stature person. I can reach easily up here all the way to the headstock without feeling like I'm out here in left field somewhere. It's just everything is compact to your body. It's a modern C neck, a 1.65-inch nut width, so it's easy to play for people like me with smaller hands or surgical hands. It's just extremely, extremely playable. You'll see that the fretboard is Palfero, like the Player Series, but it's got an interesting figuring with the wood, and it's not so light. This is not a bad looking fretboard. It's not as dark as a rosewood, but that's a Player Series. And overall, it's very well made. It looks fabulous. A few years ago, the Player Series were having issues with the fret sprout. The fret edge is not an issue now. This is finished perfectly. I've had now, this is my 4th Player Series guitar, and except for one that was built in that period where they were having issues with the fret ends, each one of them has been excellent. The Player Series are really well reputed to be guitars that can work really right out of the box. Of course, any new guitar you get, you should have a professional setup, your local music store. But, you know, they're good to go. And you can play this at any level. It's just a solid instrument. And this one is particularly, it's just great to go. So we'll talk a little bit more about the specs. The trem, and I don't have the trem bar on now, but I'll put that on later. Classic Jaguar trem. Now, some of the Jaguar trems have a block button here. This one does not. If that's important to you, you can replace this. This is a lot of stuff going on in this trem, and so the Jaguar and the Jazzmaster will get a little bit of a kind of jangle to them because you just have a lot of interfaces here. And it's fine. It just gives you a really great, interesting tone, especially for clean tones. The bridge here, some Jaguars have a bridge that's been reputed to have strings coming out. This arrangement, I've not had that issue at all. It works just fine. When we get to the pickups, the Jaguars always have this characteristic, the shielding on a single coil neck pickup. Again, this is the heart of the Jaguar, because this is giving you that 60 single coil tone. And I find for this one, not excessively noisy. This is not a bad pickup at all for that. I'll talk more about the performance of this pickup. I find this one to be, it's okay, it's fine. You can certainly play it, but I don't find it quite as bright as I want, quite as cutting. So I've ordered a replacement for this, which I'll discuss in a future video, but it's quite playable. The humbucker appears to be more of a classic Player Series Fender humbucker, and these are underrated. This humbucker plays quite well, and I'll give a demo for that. I'm, at this point, not considering changing it because I think it performs great. It's a low or vintage output kind of humbucker, but you know what? You just crank the gain on your amp and you're off to the races. So again, just a beautiful guitar, well made, fits me like a glove. So let's talk about how it plays. So let's start in the neck with this single coil. I said a minute ago, you know, that is not quite as bright and chimey as maybe I want, but I have EQ'd my rig. And you can get that, and it sounds good. It really does. It sounds good. So that single coil, you really can get those Fender clean tones. This works really well too with a little crunch on that neck pickup. Really quite a acceptable pickup. But of course, if you don't like it, you can do what I'm doing and update it. Now, when we get to the bridge, again, this Fender humbucker, you know, Player Series, it doesn't have a name, it doesn't have a brand, it's just a Player humbucker, but I have consistently found them to be really good. I just like it. So I don't know what to tell you. This is going to sound, this humbucker, like, you know, typical Fender humbucker, but I think it sounds really good. And I think you can dial in the gamut of tones with this guitar and feel good about it. So summing up, what do I think about this guitar? Well, I think I've made that pretty clear. I've been looking for guitars for a long time that would fit my body, fit my hands, fit the kind of styles I like to play. This one fits that bill. You know, I wouldn't mind if it had a darker wood fretboard, but this one, it's quite okay. It looks really good. Just a cool vibe to it. I get all the tones I want. Again, I'm upgrading the neck pickup just to get a little bit more clarity and chiminess, but it's quite okay. And I think you could hear my little demo that it's quite okay. If you are a smaller stature person, or you really love that indie grunge vibe, or you're really chasing that 60s, the surf sound or the jangly sound, a great choice. Another great choice is right down there, the classic Vibe Jaguar that's got all the original switching. I'm going to do a comparison video between these just to give you a feel for how they compare. Again, I think this is a great choice. And I sure enjoy it, and I think you would too. So as always, thanks very much for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Have a great day.